Hey everyone, I'm Tina from Career Comedy, and we are here today with Gurjinder Kambe. So, Gurjinder, can you please introduce yourself and the company you're working with, and how long have you been an intern there?
Mhm. Yeah, as said, my name's Gurjinder. I'm working for the Expat Centre in Leiden, and I've been there now. My maths is going to have to be quick. A couple of months since September, so
Mhm.
like what, 3, 4 months. Um, and I'm just there as like a communications intern, but it tends to be because it's a small team. It's you sort of do everything in the role. The university has like a career web page, and on that career web page, and most universities do, to be fair, it's just if there's like jobs that might be like interesting for students or former students from like their department and things like that. And so I was like, you know what, I'm sure maybe they will have by any chance sort of posted a internship that would be like right for me on there. And luckily they did, and the application process was relatively smooth. It was relatively easy. Our studies are very how do I put it? They're very like multifaceted. So like we deal with a lot of things.
Mhm.
Um and I suppose that gives us like a wide basis of knowledge. It gives us an ability to sort of like quickly change and adapt for a lot of different areas, and that might be potentially an upside. But also, I think the whole like language learning doesn't hurt at all um, in being an asset for job searching. Things have kind of changed a little bit because of COVID. Before COVID, I'd obviously be arranging more like events and doing those types of things. But at the moment, it's a lot of social media things. It's a lot of like posts on Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that. It's a lot of impromptu emails about like changing things on like a website. I have a team meeting every like 2 weeks, and because the team is very small as well, I tend to really be in contact with my bosses and superiors like constantly if I'm working. And yeah, it's been quite useful in the way that like if I have questions, if I'm not sure about things and if I want to challenge anything, it's a great arena to do that because it also feels a little bit more informal having like catch ups and things like that. Maybe like a 5.5/6 in the way that like I think, and this is perhaps because of my personal like perceptions and things, is I think when I went into doing an internship, as I said, I was coming in from an academic background and I thought I'd be, I know, required to do a lot more academic based stuff. Rather than what you tend to find actually is like it's a lot of like responding to emails and doing small like tasks that like keep functioning and everything, keep everything functioning rather. But it's not academically challenging in the way our studies are. Um, and it's definitely not using like I'm not required to call upon like all of the like I'm not like yes, I learned about this in politics Middle East and now this is totally applicable. Some internships would be like that, like having that background knowledge would be really helpful, but it is more about like the transferable skills that you learn in your university career. Like it's things like how to communicate with others, teamwork, what is sort of like time management. And so in that aspect, it's like it fits well because we've learned all of those things through our studies. I'm just not using necessarily the knowledge that I learned in like lectures. I'm not referring back to those notes. I feel like everyone says this in if you do an internship, you have to do an internship course, and one of the things they tell you is don't be afraid to rely on connections. I do agree with that. I think if you have connections, use them. I think not having them made it kind of difficult. Practice doing interviews on like over like Teams or over like Skype or whatever it is, because I think that's a thing that hindered me in one of the first interviews I had in lockdown, and I didn't get the internship, but it was so difficult to know what the like protocol was for Skype interviews, what the norms were. Even just a simple thing as like knowing when the other person was done, because people don't always turn on their cameras, and so like we usually just rely on like cues and things like that, and it comes across really strange. It can be quite difficult. So I really do think that like practicing the strangeness of a Teams or Skype interview is also something that like I'd low-key recommend, because I think that was a challenge when I first started as well applying.